AITA for telling my brother not to name his baby after our cat. My name is Anna. I'm 27, and I have an older brother, Michael, who's 30. We've always been close, though sometimes Michael can be a little stubborn when he decides something feels right to him. A couple of weeks ago, our family gathered at Michael's house. It was a small get-together to find out whether his first child would be a boy or a girl. Michael and his wife, Claire, had kept it a surprise for everyone, and we were all excited. After they popped a balloon that spilled out pink confetti, everyone cheered. It felt warm, joyful, and simple in the best way. Then Michael smiled and said he wanted to share the name they'd chosen. He said, "We're going to name her Willow." At first, I froze. Willow was the name of our family cat growing up. She was a small tabby with a gentle nature who lived with us for 15 years. I loved her deeply. Losing her 5 years ago was one of the hardest days I remember. Even now, thinking of Willow brings back a soft ache and a sense of longing. For all those years, she was part of our lives. When Michael said the name, I couldn't help but react. I quietly asked, "Wait, like Willow, our cat?" Michael's smile faded just a little. He explained that he and Claire thought the name sounded pretty, gentle, and unique. He said it reminded them of nature and strength. He added that it wasn't about the cat. It was just a name they loved. I nodded, but inside I felt uneasy. Willow wasn't just a random name to our family. She was part of so many childhood memories. Quiet mornings when I'd sit by the window, with her curled in my lap. Nights when I'd wake up from a nightmare and find her asleep at my feet. And days when I'd come home from school feeling lonely and she'd greet me at the door. Later, when most of the guests were busy chatting, I pulled Michael aside. I tried to speak gently, telling him I thought it felt strange, almost like naming a child after someone you'd loved deeply, but who was, in the end, a pet. I reminded him how everyone in the family would always connect Willow with the cat. Michael's expression changed. His voice turned tense. He said I was being dramatic, that no one else would think of it that way. He insisted the name was beautiful and that I was stuck in the past. That I felt a bit hurt. I wasn't trying to ruin anything. I just didn't want my niece's name to carry confusion or quiet discomfort during family gatherings, especially because Michael wasn't even that close to Willow growing up. He used to joke about her scratching his shoes or leaving fur on the couch. The next day, Michael barely spoke to me. Claire was polite but distant. My parents stayed quiet, saying it was Michael and Claire's choice, and they didn't want to interfere. But my younger sister, Emily, texted me later that night saying she agreed it felt a bit odd. Now Michael says I've made something happy feel negative, that I'm the one turning a beautiful moment into something heavy. I didn't mean to cause hurt. I still love my brother and his growing family, but I can't pretend it doesn't feel strange. So, AITA for telling my brother it felt wrong to name his daughter after our childhood cat. Update: a few days after our conversation at the party, there was this quiet stretch of silence between Michael and me. We didn't text, we didn't call, and when we saw each other in the family group chat, it was only to share small things. An old photo someone had found, a funny story about our parents, or a reminder about Sunday dinner. It felt polite, but not real. Underneath, I could sense something unfinished, something that still weighed on both of us. Then, late one evening, my phone buzzed. It was a short message from Michael. "Can we talk later?" Just those 4 words. I stared at it for a while, wondering what tone to expect. I replied, "Of course," and waited. An hour later, he called. His voice sounded a little uncertain at first, softer than usual. He told me he'd been thinking a lot about what I'd said, especially after the quiet at home once everyone left the party. Michael admitted that, until I spoke up, he hadn't really considered how strong my memories of Willow still were, and how the name might mean something completely different to me than to him. And Claire, he explained that they both loved the name Willow not because of our cat, but because of what the word itself meant to them. To them, it was about grace, flexibility, and quiet strength. Michael shared that Claire had always loved willow trees because they bend without breaking, and that felt beautiful to them as an idea for their daughter's name. Hearing that, something shifted in me. It didn't erase my memories of Willow, the cat I'd loved so deeply, but it helped me see that to Michael and Claire, this name wasn't chosen lightly or thoughtlessly. It had its own hope and meaning for them, completely separate from my memories. That I told Michael gently that I still found it strange, not because I thought it was wrong, but because for me, the name Willow carried 15 years of soft mornings, quiet afternoons, and sad goodbyes. I admitted that when he said the name at the party, my first thought wasn't about his new daughter. It was about a small tabby curled up on my bed on a rainy day. It wasn't anger, just an ache I hadn't expected to feel so sharply. Michael listened, really listened, without cutting in or getting defensive. There were pauses where neither of us spoke, but the silence felt thoughtful, not cold. Then he said quietly, "I guess I didn't realize how deep it still runs for you." His voice sounded almost apologetic, but also gentle. That we talked about Willow, too, the cat herself, not the name. Michael admitted that while he'd never felt as close to her as I had, he did remember moments that mattered. The way she'd nudge his leg when he was sad, the soft way she'd sit by the window when it snowed. It surprised me to hear that, and for a moment, it felt like we were teenagers again, sharing small stories late at night. That I told him that I respected that it it was his and Claire's choice, and that my intention wasn't to tell them what to do, but to share honestly why it felt heavy for me. Michael thanked me, and his voice sounded lighter than it had at the start of the call. He said he was glad I'd explained it calmly instead of letting it turn into another argument. That be why the end of the call, it felt like a knot between us had started to loosen. The question of the name still hung there, but it didn't feel sharp anymore. It felt like something we could hold together and look at, instead of something that had to sit between us. After we hung up, I sat for a while in the quiet of my apartment, thinking about how love can look so different in a family. Sometimes it's protecting old memories, and sometimes it's making space for new ones. And sometimes it's just picking up the phone to say, "Tell me why this matters to you." And really meaning it wasn't a perfect resolution, but it felt like the beginning of understanding each other again, and that, in its own quiet way, felt like enough for now. Update 2. About a week after that late-night call with Michael, I got a message from him saying they'd like me to come over for dinner. Just me this time. No big family gathering. No distractions. It felt a little unexpected, but in a good way. I could tell Michael wanted to keep the conversation going, rather than leaving it half-finished. That Friday evening, I walked over to their apartment. Claire opened the door, smiling warmly, though I could see a hint of nervousness in her eyes too. The table was set simply, and the smell of something baking, maybe garlic bread, filled the air. We started dinner chatting about small things, how work had been, the weather, a silly video Claire had seen online. But after we finished eating, the conversation turned quiet, and Michael spoke up. He started by saying they'd been thinking a lot about everything since the party and since our call. He shared, almost shyly, that at first they were frustrated, feeling like I'd brought sadness into what was supposed to be a happy moment. But after stepping back, they realized that my reaction came from love, not from trying to hurt them. Michael looked at me and said, "You weren't just thinking about the name. You were thinking about Willow herself and what she meant to you." Hearing that, in his own words, felt unexpectedly comforting. Then Claire spoke. She said that when they first thought of the name Willow, it was because of how graceful willow trees look, even when bending under the weight of snow or wind. To them, it was about resilience and quiet strength. But after hearing my side, she began to worry. She didn't want their daughter's name to bring confusion or pain during family birthdays or holidays. Claire admitted she hadn't realized how many memories the name carried for me, because she'd never grown up with pets herself, and she just hadn't thought about it that way. That we sat in that moment together, not rushing to fix it, just letting the honesty sit between us. And something about it felt deeply human, imperfect, but real. Then Michael said quietly, "So we've decided to choose a different name." At first, I wasn't sure I'd heard right. He explained that after talking it over, they agreed it would be better for everyone. Not because my feelings should outweigh theirs, but because they wanted their daughter's name to start fresh, unclouded by past associations, even ones full of love. Claire added that they didn't want me, or anyone, feeling they had to hide their memories of Willow, the cat, just to keep the name light. They wanted family gatherings and birthdays to feel simple and joyful, not complicated. That I was surprised, and for a second, I didn't know what to say. But then I thanked them, genuinely, for listening, for caring enough to reconsider, even though it couldn't have been easy. Michael shrugged a little and said, "It just felt right." They told me they'd chosen a new name together, Hazel. Claire said it still felt gentle, natural, and had its own meaning for them, reminding her of hazel trees that stay rooted and strong through all seasons. I smiled when I heard it. It sounded soft and sweet, and best of all, it felt like its own beginning rather than a continuation of something past. Before I left that night, Michael walked me to the door. He hesitated, then said, "I'm glad we talked. It helped us see things we hadn't seen before." I told him I was glad too, because truly, I was. Walking home, the night felt calm. I thought about how family disagreements don't always end with someone winning. Sometimes they end with everyone understanding each other a little more, and that can feel like its own kind of love. Since then, things between us have felt lighter. We still tease each other, still disagree about silly things, but there's a quiet sense of respect that feels new. And whenever I think of Willow now, the cat I loved so dearly, I no longer feel that pang of guilt or worry that her memory might overshadow something new. Family names can really stir the pot faster than Aunt Linda's chili at Thanksgiving. Funny how something as sweet as Willow can sprout a whole forest of feelings nobody saw coming. Naming a kid isn't like picking a Wi-Fi password. Carries echoes, history, and sometimes whiskers and purrs. Still, gotta hand it to Michael and Claire. They stepped back, listened, and realized love sometimes means letting go of even the prettiest idea. Changing the name wasn't defeat. It was like pruning a branch so the tree can grow straighter. That takes guts, humility, and a sprinkle of grace. Big reminder here, just because something sounds beautiful to you doesn't mean it feels the same to everyone else. Memories shape words in wild ways, and talking about it openly beats letting resentment take root. In the end, the best family arguments aren't about proving who's right, but about discovering what truly matters to each other. Also, let's be real, little Hazel will probably change her own name to something like Sparkle Moon when she's 12 anyway, so staying flexible is the real win. Before we move on to the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, tell us your favorite story in the comments, and if you have your own story to share, let us know down there too. Story 2. AITA for calling out my friend for making weird jokes with someone much younger. My name is Ethan, and I'm 23. For the past couple of years, my closest group of friends has mostly been online. We met through a gaming server during the pandemic, and what started as just playing matches turned into long late-night calls, random debates, and sharing bits of our lives. It was never something I planned to rely on, but these people slowly became like family. Among us was Liam, who's 21. Liam's always been the loudest in the group, the kind who can get everyone laughing even on the worst days. And then there was Jamie. Jamie just turned 14 this year. He joined us through his cousin, who used to play with us but left the server about 6 months ago. Jamie stayed because, despite being younger, he was pretty sharp, funny, and good at the game too. At first, it felt like a harmless mix. I've always believed that age gaps in friendships can work as long as there's respect and everyone understands boundaries. We'd joke, share memes, and watch movies online together. But a part of me always kept an eye on how the older ones treated Jamie. Then one night, when I couldn't sleep, I scrolled back through some old messages in our chat logs. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe boredom or just wanting to laugh at old jokes. That's when I found the conversation between Liam and Jamie in their private messages. IT was joking on the surface. Liam teased Jamie about acting like his partner, adding comments like, 14 isn't that far from 18, ha. Jamie played along, sending back short laughing replies. But as I read it, a slow, cold unease settled in my chest. Even if Liam didn't mean it seriously, it didn't feel right. Jamie is still a kid. Joking about waiting for him to turn 18, even lightly, felt like opening a door that shouldn't be opened. I stared at my screen, wondering if I was overthinking it. After all, both seemed fine in the chat, and Liam had never done anything openly inappropriate. But the thought wouldn't leave my head. I kept asking myself, what if Jamie laughs only because he feels he has to? What if no one says anything, and it makes Jamie believe this kind of joking is normal? I spent the next day debating what to do. I kept imagining Jamie years from now, telling someone how older friends joke like that with him, and no one stopped it. That thought alone made me decide. That evening, my hands were shaking as I opened a group call and added both Liam and Jamie. My voice cracked when I started talking. At first, I tried to explain calmly why the jokes bothered me. I told Liam that even if Jamie seemed okay with it, the responsibility falls on us as older members of the group to keep clear lines. Liam got defensive right away. He said it was harmless fun, that Jamie laughed, and that it was never sexual. Jamie jumped in too, saying, it really doesn't bother me, Ethan. It was funny, but the words kept spilling out of me. My heart was pounding, and I raised my voice. I told Liam that joking about age gaps like that teaches Jamie that it's fine for older people to flirt with him, even if it's just jokes. I told him that Jamie might not fully understand yet why it's wrong, and it's unfair to put that weight on someone so young. I remember Liam going silent for a few seconds, then snapping back that I was overreacting and Jamie was more mature than his age. Jamie tried to lighten the mood by joking, but the air felt heavy and the call ended awkwardly. After the call, I sat staring at my screen in the dark. My heart wouldn't stop racing. Part of me felt like I'd just broken something in our group that couldn't be fixed. Another part of me whispered that maybe it was necessary. Update: a few days after the group call, I didn't hear much from Liam. The chat was quieter than usual. I wasn't sure if he was avoiding me or just needed some space. I felt a mix of relief and guilt. Relief because I didn't have to confront him again immediately, and guilt because I worried I had been too harsh. Then one evening, out of the blue, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. Hey Ethan, I've been thinking a lot about what you said the other night. I guess maybe I didn't see how it looked from the outside. Reading those words made my chest tighten. I was afraid this would turn into a fight again, or worse, that he'd dismiss everything. But he continued, I want to be honest. I still feel like it was just jokes between me and Jamie. I never meant anything serious or harmful. He laughed too, you know? I really care about him like a kid brother, nothing more. I paused before replying. Part of me wanted to jump in and say, but that's the problem. Jokes like that can confuse a kid. It's not about what you meant. It's about what it made Jamie feel. But instead, I wrote back carefully. I'm glad you're thinking about it. I believe you care about Jamie, and that's important. But sometimes, even with good intentions, words can cross lines without us realizing. Jamie is young, and it's easy for him to misunderstand or feel pressured, even if he laughs. Liam's response came quickly, almost defensively this time. Yeah, but Jamie never said he felt weird or uncomfortable. He told me it was funny and that I was just joking. I don't want to lose his trust by acting like I'm accusing him of anything. I understood his worry. No one wants to risk hurting a friendship, especially with someone younger who looks up to them. But I felt like I needed to be clear. It's not about accusing anyone. It's about making sure Jamie feels safe and respected, even if it means stepping back from jokes that might blur boundaries. Sometimes kids laugh because they don't want to seem awkward or upset. It's not always easy for them to say how they really feel. After that, Liam didn't respond right away. I guessed he needed time. Around the same time, I decided to check in with Jamie privately. I wanted to be sure he really felt okay and knew he could talk to me if anything made him uncomfortable. That I sent a simple message. Hey Jamie, I just wanted to check in. If any of the jokes or stuff in the chat ever makes you feel weird or unsure, you can always tell me. You don't have to laugh or pretend. It's okay to say how you really feel. His reply came quickly. Thanks, Ethan. I appreciate that. But honestly, it's all good. I like hanging out with you guys, and I'm not upset about any of it. Hearing that was a relief. I didn't want to make Jamie feel like he had to hide or be scared. At the same time, I worried maybe Jamie didn't fully understand what I was trying to protect him from. I kept reminding myself that this was a slow process. Trust is built over time, and sometimes protection means being patient and gentle. Since then, Liam has been quieter in the group chats. He rarely jokes the way he used to. Jamie has also seemed more reserved, less eager to jump into playful teasing. The atmosphere feels different. It's less free and light. Sometimes I lie awake, wondering if I made things worse, if I was too forceful and scared everyone away. But then I remind myself, it's better to shake the foundation a little than to let something unsafe grow quietly beneath the surface. Friendships across age gaps online is like balancing a broomstick on your fingertip. Tricky, delicate, and sometimes wobbly. Ethan's call-out wasn't just about some awkward quips. It was about setting invisible fences where they're needed, even if no one initially sees the stakes. Humor can be a double-edged sword. What feels like harmless teasing to some can quietly unsettle others, especially when maturity levels vary wildly. The funny thing is, kids often laugh to keep peace or fit in, not because they truly feel comfortable. So Ethan stepping up wasn't just ruining the vibe. It was shining a flashlight on a shadowy corner that needed some light. For anyone reading this, if you're in a group with mixed ages, remember that protection isn't about policing fun. It's about respect and care. Don't be afraid to trust your gut if something feels off. And when you do speak up, patience and calmness are your allies. Real change usually creeps in slow and steady, not with fireworks. Also, Liam's response is a classic reminder. Intentions matter, but impact matters more. You can mean just joking and still cause discomfort. Owning that and adjusting behavior is what friendship maturity looks like. Lastly, Ethan's gentle check-in with Jamie, gold standard. Sometimes the quietest voices hold the loudest feelings, and offering a safe space to express those can make all the difference. Moral? Sometimes friendships need a little course correction. It's not about winning or losing. It's about making sure everyone's still on the ride feeling safe and respected. And hey, if that means fewer edgy jokes and more thoughtful ones, that's a win for everyone. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell us your favorite story in the comments, and feel free to share your own story too.